Hello, welcome to Anka Peslam. Today, my guest is Preetha. Hello, Preetha.
Hi.
So, Preetha, today we're going to be talking about the Hindi web series Chiraiya. So, we have both have seen the show. So, can you tell me a basic one line about the show?
Yeah, it's basically about consent, right? Even after getting married, being a married couple, the man has to get the consent from his wife before he touches his wife. That's the
Okay, good. So, one of the main things, that, as you rightly said, it's about consent. So, why do you think um, the lack of consent is very is like very prevalent in in marriages, especially like in Indian marriages? So why do you think that is? Is it like a lack of awareness or like so, what do you think that is?
I think yeah, I believe the first point is maybe it is a lack of awareness. But then in this age, right? I cannot really say um it they need to they need to be aware of it because anywhere they go they talk about this, right? The movies they watch, now they listen to a lot of Instagrams, a lot of things has come up where awareness is not, it's like given to every single person, right? You are aware of a lot of things, and this is a basic a respect, right, for a woman. It just simply as do not touch her if she says no. That's as simple as that.
So like where do you think the awareness has to come from? Does it come from the society or does it come from like from their own family or from the surroundings? How do you think like a, a guy can be like educated in all these things?
Yeah, education, I would say, especially in our culture, Indian culture or any culture, I don't know, it depends on, how comfortable the parents are with the kids. And I've seen in 80, 90% of the time, they're not comfortable about talking about sex, right? And even the word is said to be wrong, right? At the early stage. I think as they grow up, it has to come from outside exposure, right? It all depends on what kind of friends that he has, what kind of events that he goes to. So, even in this movie, we can see that the girl that who's supposed to get married, she's going and supporting this LGBTQ, right? I mean, I don't think his parents, her parents have told nothing about this, right? But she's still, I think, out of her own curiosity, out of her own, she just wants to do something, right? So I believe that that's what she's trying to do, and then she's learning all these things from the exposure that she has from the families that she's from the friends that she's getting, right? Even in her house, they are very orthodox people too. It looks like they haven't told her about all this, right? But then she's getting this awareness somehow. I believe everyone needs to get this awareness one way or other.
No, I think in terms of a women, I don't even think it's an awareness thing. Like they immediately know that something is wrong is happening, right? So they because like, they are the ones like going through the pain, so they immediately know that something wrong is happening. But from the guy's point of view, he has no clue that he is doing something wrong because all he has been told is once you get married, it is for this. And especially in our culture, the first night is being like glorified as a huge thing, right? So
Right.
right from the young age, it's been like portrayed as the greatest night of your life. Do this, do that, all those things. Everybody is like I mean, hyping him up. So it's almost like if they don't do anything on the first night, that means that something is wrong. That's a mentality the guy is pushed into, right?
See,
So
even that, right? The first night, who's talking about this first night to him, right? I don't think the parents are
no,
talking,
it's not a
hey, the
parents.
first
Yeah,
night is something that you have to do this. The parents are not saying that, right? Again, his friends, right? Again, it's his friends, and then he's hearing from the movies. I don't know what kind of movies that he's watching, and these kind of movies is what it's making him feel the first night is something is for having sex, right? So I believe, it's yeah, you're right. First night is kind of glorified in such a way just for this. But in my opinion, I don't think the first, because especially in arranged marriage, the first night should be the night where they start to know each other. And that's just the starting point, right? And then when they come to know each other, I don't know, it might take a year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows? Until then, I think they have to have that clear understanding, right? So that's when the next steps needs to happen.
So
Yeah.
in the same household, there is a younger boy, but he also has an like an elder brother who's very respectful of his wife, right? He's very
Mm-hmm.
respectful, very loving, and very caring. So you have this two persons born in the same household behaving completely like in the opposite direction. So how do you reconcile that? I think like pretty much like they both would have been brought under the same roof, same education, same philosophy, same religious beliefs and all those things, right? But still, one guy is very good, the other guy is bad, and he doesn't even know that he's bad, right? So
Mm-mm.
how
Yeah.
do you think? So what do you think that is?
See, yeah, in the movie it is shown that the elder brother is, very respectful of the wife, right? I get that. But then I really feel even the wife, the first sister-in-law, right, is his wife, if she's put in the same situation as this girl, right, she would have taken. She would have taken it without saying a word. Because if you see this whole movie, in the first half of the movie, she's still not, she's very ignorant of a lot of things, and her thing is like, okay, between married couple, if this happens, it's okay, right? It's part of it. The girl has to be okay for this. If I don't, I really don't get that whenever they say in the movie, oh, the older brother is, I mean, yes, he is respectful by nature, but if this situation is reversed, I think the sister-in-law wouldn't have said a word
Yeah,
about this.
that is where the generation gap comes into play, right?
That is where the
If the
generation,
same
yes.
situation has happened to the mom, she wouldn't have said a word, or to the
Yes,
grandma.
yes, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like I'm
Nobody
pretty
would have
sure like
said it.
grandma. I'm pretty sure the grandma went through something. That is why she's asking them to fight,
Yeah, there's a
right?
history. Yeah, yeah,
History there. Something is there. We don't know. So yeah.
yeah.
So I think it's like the generation gap. So which is where I was kind of surprised this guy who is from the younger generation has no awareness. And what was more shocking to me is he's so fixated on this, right? He's so fixated that I'm not doing anything wrong. She's my wife. I have rights on her. That's what he keeps saying. I have rights on her. I have rights on her. Which is what was very interesting for me that in this generation somebody is behaving like that.
Yeah, it's basically when you sign a paper, that means that you have all rights to her body, to her mind, to whatever it is, right? It's basically he can treat her as a puppet, doll or something. And that is how, and again, in our culture, I think, Indian culture or any other culture, right? I feel like the sex itself is not even, they anybody who cannot have sex before marriage, right? So they bring this whole thing up. People wait to get married to have sex, right? Until then, this curiosity is basically within their mind, right? They cannot talk about it to anyone. They cannot go and talk about it this to their parents. They can't even, date anyone. So those kind of situation, I feel like, kind of bottles up. And then, after marriage, and then the first night that they see a girl, they feel like they have all the power, all the rights on that girl, just because, it is a legal thing that they're married, right? So I think that's one of the reason why. Yeah.
So, and what do you think about this? The character progression of the sister-in-law. She comes from from a very, I wouldn't say dumb, I would say like innocent person to a fighter actually. But even like in the beginning also, like she keeps saying that one line. I don't know how it was translated in Tamil, but what she says is, it takes a while for me to get things right, to believe in something. Once I believe, I just hold it very strongly. So it takes a while for her to believe the sister-in-law. So once she believes her, she starts fighting for her. So, what do you think about that character?
Yeah, that character is amazing. I felt like she's a strong lady from the beginning. I think in the very first scene, she's taking the side of her brother-in-law, right? And she's going and fighting physically without even understanding or without asking a question why this fight is happening, and she's just going and because she trusts in him, and like she says, right? She believes in him, and she literally feels like, okay, he will not do anything wrong, right? She has that kind of a faith in him, right? So now again, like when you see in the whole story in the very beginning, she feels she doesn't even reads the newspaper completely, and she reads only the cooking part of it, and she feels that's the most important part for this whole family to be together. All she has to do is cook and then make the family feel happy and just be supportive to the family, right? And then now, after a while, that we see her progression after the sister-in-law is going through this huge challenge with this guy, having basically the sister-in-law is coming and saying, oh, he raped, right? And that word, she's not even able to take it. She's just immediately slapping her. So that's the mindset that she was in the movie. And then, once the newly married couple has gone to the honeymoon, that look that the sister-in-law is giving her kind of, I think, makes her feel like something she's missing, right? And then she's more curious, and she wants to learn, it, can this even happen, right? Even after marriage, is this something called rape? I think in her mindset, the rape happens only for the unmarried couples, right? Once they are married, and especially with her husband, there is no such thing called rape,
Yeah,
right?
that is also
So
there. But the other point also, I think she's very strong about it. She brought up the younger brother, right?
yes,
So in a
yes.
way, if he is doing that, that means her bringing up was wrong, right? So I think like she doesn't want to accept that also. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what? Yes, in the same family, she's there and she's bringing him up, right? And you see that mindset of her, right? When she had a girl baby, and she says like, "Oh, the baby is a girl," and she's still in that mindset of, she wants a boy baby, right? And now she's accepting the brother-in-law as her own son, right? Just because she couldn't give birth to a boy, and then she's still in that mindset like girls cannot do anything, right? So, so and then you see this progression where in her sister-in-law's absence, she's going and learning everything. She's going back to that NGO lady and asking her, is this even possible? And then it's like awakening, right? She's
yeah.
like completely awakening from where she was before, and now her curiosity and her open-mindedness, that is something I feel like not every woman gets it. They always feel like, oh, whatever I feel is right, but this character, they have made it such a way that she can take in whatever information that she gets, and it kind of makes her feel like, okay, this is also something that she has to take into consideration. And that's when it's slowly changing, and she's seeing that, and she understands. And now all of a sudden she's making sure that she's reading the full newspaper, and she's understanding what's happening in the world, and she's going and talking to several people. It is all basically the curiosity, and then that mind that she has to learn more about these things. Yeah,
So, Anna, what do you think about the ending of the show? Were you satisfied with how the show ended? Do you think the brother-in-law got the justice that he requires?
I really think it's an excellent ending. I would have been disappointed if she just forgives and takes him back. It took a while for him to even understand that he was at fault, right? He shouldn't have done that. But then, it's just that ending was when he's coming and apologizes to her in front of everyone. She's just simply saying that I cannot take it because I cannot forgive you. Only when, she's just going to wait for that law to be in place, and then she just still wants to see him in prison for what he has done,
Yeah.
right? Until then she doesn't want to forgive, which I totally understand. That's how it should be, because she has gone through the pain, right? And cutting her own vagina, is not a simple thing. And then he has created a trauma. Now, it's not only him, even if she's getting remarried or if she's going and, dating someone, she's still going to be in fear. And she's that because he has traumatized her to an extent, right? So I think the ending was excellent. I like the ending just because they didn't just forgive and, you know, go back to her life, right? Yeah.
I don't think like they would have gone back to the life. Mm. But I did like the ending though, the way they kind of like separating from the family itself, which was kind of very harsh decision. And I did do some research. Apparently, like there is no law in India about this particular situation. So right now, so which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting. Which is kind of interesting. Maybe like they will come up with something. So, what do you think about the father-in-law character and the grandmother
So,
too?
yeah, the father-in-law character was, I kind of knew from the beginning because the father-in-law is going to take, his son's side, no matter what, because that's how the culture is. That's how like parents are, right? Anything that's happened to own son, they're gonna take their side immediately. But I liked how the sister-in-law had this whole faith in the father-in-law, thinking that he's going to do the right thing. When sister-in-law comes in, I mean, for him it's daughter-in-law, right? The daughter-in-law comes and tells him, this is what has happened. Your son has done something horrible. And just because of the reputation of the family, he just wants to silence her and then wants to, keep her quiet. But I am super glad that she was not quiet. She was still kind of, going against this whole thing. And she's even ready to step out of the house, to get some, you know, they need something, justice for this, right? So she's ready to get out of the house to get the proper justice. And father-in-law's character is, I think it's a natural, but I think he has gone a little bit far, where he's going to the second daughter-in-law's house, and then telling and giving that medicine to her father to make him drink so that he can, get his daughter to
He,
live back,
he wants
in the
them to
same
come back to
house.
the house no matter what. That's the point here. Yeah.
Yes, and that's again society. He is worried about the society. Maybe in deep down that he knows that his son has done something wrong, but then because he has shown in this whole movie, he has shown as if someone like, he's aware of the surrounding, he's aware of what's happening in the world, and then he's like the brainy person in this whole house and whatever, right? But then, I think again the societal press, he doesn't want to be seen by the society that his family is being broken because of this rape, right? Yeah, I think that needs to change also in our Indian community, right? um that's it's highly not possible, but then you have to, as a dad, you have to think twice and then just put yourself in the girl situation, right? So maybe might happen, right? We never know.
What do you think about the grandmother?
I think she has got a history, and she was super quiet till the end, and she's seeing everything. When the daughter-in-laws came to the house, thinking that they cannot do anything about this, and she's standing up for it, and she's like, "Okay, you have to voice out." All right, it that kind of motivates both of the daughter-in-laws to do something about it. Otherwise, I think they would have just been they'd have talked about it and cried about it. They'd have just still gone back to their life. Of course, they'll have some kind of an uncomfortable situation inside the house. But unless and until this grandmother, wouldn't have said something, I don't think they would have gone out and taken this whole step to bring the whole city into one place and then started talking about it. I think that is a good, because we know there's no law, but then he cannot be he has to be punished for it
Yeah.
one way or other, right? He cannot just escape because illegally there is no law. Yeah.
So, what do you think? So, like, what was the most shocking scene for you in this series?
Oh my God, the shocking scene is she's hurting herself with a blade, in the own vagina, and another shocking scene as a guy, like as a married person, when she says like, she's having her period, and then he's saying like, I want to see that, right? Um, he's a psycho. That one, and then he's banging on her door like as if, he has the rights to go and see it. Again, that was really shocking scene where like she hurt herself. Uh, but and then there's another scene where I felt this when the sister-in-law, right? When she comes back and then she feels she understands her, but she kind of emotionally understands her now after hearing all those things, and she goes back and trying to this do the same exact thing, right? Trying to cut herself, and she can't even do it. She can't do it. She doesn't even have the courage to do something like that, right? So again, that basically shows that in a house like the daughter-in-law can uh, she's trying to be more supportive of this whole thing and trying to create a safe place for the younger daughter-in-law in the house, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a pretty a shocking thing for me as well when he starts like banging the door. It
And
was pretty
there
confusing.
is other shocking thing as a girl, right? She's going back to her parents' house and she's trying to explain this to her own mom, and the mom, I don't know whether she understands this. I think she kind of knows it, okay, but then she's saying go back to the to your married family, and that's very shocking, right? Where as a mom you should say, okay, you know what, this should not happen, and we will take care of you. And again, even at her own birthplace, she is not feeling safe there, right? And then the parents have not created a safe place for her for their own daughter, and that was again very shocking to see that. Yeah.
Good. So yeah, so this was a very awesome series. I think every men and women should watch this series. I know it's not for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea. Very hard subject. A lot of hardcore scenes in this show, but still everybody should watch this as part of at least to create awareness to understand about consent and everything. So yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's
Thank you very
basically
much.
no means no.
No means no. Okay, good.
Ah,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.